Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Comic Book Nostalgia. I'm CB Nostalgia, and I thought we could talk a couple minutes about Young Justice. Well, as many of you know, we had a pretty big week this past episode on Young Justice. We finally found out who was in the Keiser Thrall, and it turns out it was a very well-established DC character. Now, the Keiser Thrall has been a big part of Season 4, and has driven the plot, especially Lord Zod's plot, throughout the whole season. And 2 weeks ago, we actually found out there was an 11-year-old boy contained within the box. Now, in the most recent episode, we found out who that 11-year-old boy was, and it's the one and only Danny Chase. Now, if you're a fan of DC Comics, Danny Chase is a really well-established character. He actually made his first appearance back in New Teen Titans Annual Volume 2, Number 3, way back in 1987, and was created by Marv Wolfman and Mike Collins. Now, this version of the character was exceptionally different than what we're getting on Young Justice, and his story on Earth-16 is pretty much totally different. Now, he was a metahuman in the original comics with just the powers of telekinesis, but he also had a genius-level intellect and was trained in various espionage skills. He was even rumored to be the nephew of Adrian Chase, the Vigilante. Now, as we've gotten to know him on Young Justice, he is quite different. Now, in this week's episode, we found out some very interesting history about what happened to the Earth-16 version of Danny Chase. It turns out he was one of those metahumans that was trafficked by Darkseid and taken to Apocalypse. Unfortunately for Danny, his brain was actually removed by Desaad and put into the Keiser Thrall. It's effectively what powers the box. Now, we know the box has pretty interesting powers, specifically the interdimensional travel abilities that it has, as well as that fractal beam, which is able to lock on more than one target, causing them to phase in and out and creating a ton of pain. Now, it appeared this week he may have been killed off by Macomb, but I actually seriously doubt that's what happened. Personally, I think he was actually simply disabled and Macomb now has control of the box. The character is pretty resilient, but there is still a possibility he did wipe Danny out completely, but I fully expect him to return. Now, many fans are wondering if Danny returns, what's going to become of him? And if you know him from the comics, he actually is known by another name, Phantasm. Now, he's actually two versions of the Phantasm, and that's where he gets a little bit interesting. He was the original Phantasm, but eventually he became the second Phantasm, which is a combined form of Danny Chase, the Souls of Azarath, and Arella, who is interestingly Raven's mother, which is a character that has not been introduced to Earth-16, but it does give us an idea of where they might actually go with this. Personally, I don't think Danny is gone, and I actually think by the end of this season, or beginning of next season, assuming we get a Season 5, we might actually see him appear as the Phantasm. Now, whether he becomes the Phantasm or not is still kind of up in the air. The character itself doesn't have many additional powers outside of the one the standard Danny Chase character already has. But he is a pretty cool character visually, even though Danny Chase was kind of ill-received in the comics. He was a bit of an arrogant brat, and many people thought of him as somewhat of a Mary Sue, causing him to eventually be written out of the Titan storyline. Although he was an associate of Jason Todd, and I do have to wonder if that comes up in the series. I actually think Greg Weisman and team probably have some pretty interesting plans for the character. I can't imagine they would reveal Danny Chase in one episode and then absolutely kill him off by the end, so I believe if Danny doesn't return immediately, this will be a seed for some future story. It would be pretty cool to see the Phantasm make it onto Young Justice. Sometimes he's viewed as a villain, sometimes he's a hero, but visually he's an awesome character and pretty darn cool to watch. Most people know the Phantasm from the third version of the character, which was actually Andrea Beaumont, a former fiancée of Bruce Wayne, and she took up the mantle to avenge her father, Carl Beaumont. This actually happened in the Batman Mask of the Phantasm movie, the first Batman animated movie from the DCAU, and is still considered by many to be one of the best Batman movies ever. You probably should check it out. Before we close out the video, I wanted to remind everybody to help us get a Season 5. We've been using those hashtags Renew Young Justice Season 5, and Save Earth-16. Make sure you use them on your favorite social media platform, say something positive, and let HBO and Warner Brothers know we need another season of our favorite show. Now, obviously, we're going to follow Danny Chase and the rest of Young Justice pretty closely, but until we get more information about this particular character, I gotta know what you guys think. Were you really surprised that inside the Keiser Thrall, it turned out to be the comic character Danny Chase? And do you believe Macomb actually killed him off in the past episode, or simply disabled him, allowing him to take over the Keiser Thrall? Sound off in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you hit like, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you're not going to get any updates. Peace.